Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer, and we have some player props from around the league on the second night of the NBA season. But as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area. Make sure to like and subscribe to these videos and the channel, as we will continue to be bringing you these best bets all year long. Nate, let's get into some of our favorite player props for tonight.
Best bets, and they're free, Josh, just like the Play Picks NBA page, where you can see that the first game we're mentioning tonight is PacersHornets. Could be a pretty high-scoring affair, pretty fast-paced. I know Rick Carlisle takes over for Nate Bjorken, and they're going to get better defensively, Indiana is, at some point. But I don't know if that's going to be true right out of the gate, and I don't know if it's going to be true against a Hornets team that a lot of people are picking to really take off this year. You look at their numbers when LaMelo Ball and or Gordon Hayward were out there. They're scoring about 111 points per game, so I mentioned the over there, but we're talking about player props here, and I like LaMelo Ball's overs. He averaged 6 assists and about 6 rebounds a game, playing towards 28 minutes as a rookie. You got to expect him to play more like 35 now in his second season, to be given the reins to the offense a little bit more. I like him to top 6.5 assists against the Pacers team that gave up the third most assists per game, third most points in the paint per game last year, and generally was very easy to rack up those numbers against. So, I don't know. You approve of that one, Josh?
I do. Yeah, I 100% do. I think it's kind of like the Hornets are getting two players this season. Gordon Hayward coming back. LaMelo Ball will be healthy, presumably for this season as opposed to last. So, yeah, you're talking about two guys that, especially when they played together, they're really complementary while they still do a lot of this, similar things there. But I do think that LaMelo will continue to be, someone who looks to have the ball in his hands. And while Gordon Hayward has shown that, like, playing sort of a stretch four, sort of top of the key point, rather playing from the extended foul line and really being able to pass over guys. He is able to do that, but I think we'll continue to see him put up a bunch more shots this year now that he's got a couple other guys, specifically LaMelo, that are coming in and dishing the ball. And yeah, LaMelo is likely to be, come close to around, double-digit assists per game this year, in my opinion, right? He should be close to around 8 and above at least. So 6.5 feels low. And I think it's great when we get to look at a couple of props around the league and go, wait, we know that that's too low right now. It's still even better. Line setters are trying to figure out exactly who's going to come out and play how. And so while I do expect, Indy to be a better team under Rick Carlisle, specifically defensively, than they were last year, they really have nowhere to go but up. I don't know how long that's going to take for him to get every single guy to buy in. And I still think there's some value in Charlotte's offense for sure. So liking that one. And then going over to another game that I think has some of the same value, sort of our stars out, bets up kind of play when we're looking at the Nuggets, specifically just for, at least for player props and who's going to step up. A lot of talk about Michael Porter Jr. being the most improved player. Plenty of talk about Aaron Gordon, who came over and where he'll fit into the offense. But Willie Barton is someone that, when Jamal Murray is out, is the guy who's handling the ball and running those pick and rolls with Joker. Right. So I think you've got to look at him as the starting point guard and the guy that's really filling in for Jamal Murray. That's not Michael Porter Jr. That's not his game at all. So it's really going to be about Monte Morris coming in as a backup now for Willie B, who, has been waiting for a moment like this since Jamal Murray arrived, where he was just going to be the guy, which we've seen him do, a couple times in the past. A couple years ago, when Murray missed a good amount of games, Willie B was up about 15 points, 6 assists in that time period. So, yeah, I really like Willie B's points, rebounds, and assists is at 28.5, I believe, or rather 21.5, excuse me, which is way nicer. I would like the over on him there. But what do you think about either Willie B or anybody else in that game?
Yeah, we're still waiting for Jokic props in most places. I'm not sure why those aren't out, but yeah, I like your point. Barton is going to be playing a lot of that pick and roll with Jokic. He was really hobbled last season, so I don't think you can look at his numbers too closely there. You go back 2 years to when he played Phoenix. He had a couple of nice lines there, 13, 6, and 5, 22, 8, and 4. as long as the minutes are there over 30, he's a very productive, permanent player, and I think he can get you over there. And my favorite pick tonight, where I'm going to be putting my money on props, is Yusuf Nurkic, a per 36-minute monster. Last year, those averages per 36, 17.3 points, 13.6 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. Yet he only played 23 minutes a game, Josh, and that's because he was coming off the devastating broken leg, just getting back into the lineup. Now no restrictions. He comes out for a Blazers team that it really has to assert themselves early, prove their identity, or Dame Lillard's probably going to walk at some point. And the matchup is just fantastic against the Kings team that's routinely been bottom of the league, giving up points to big men in particular, fantasy points I'm talking about. So across the board, Nurkic isn't a across-the-board contributor. The Kings allowing the highest offensive rebound percentage and the second most points in the paint last season. And most importantly, there's no one on offense that's really going to get him into foul trouble unless he completely goes haywire. And that's what the only thing that really held him back in the playoffs last year. He continued to get in foul trouble against Jokic and others. And that would be the only way I think he comes up short of 28.5 on those bulk stats.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you like him to get boards in this game, which you gotta like, right? That's what we're thinking here. If he gets those double-digit boards, I think you feel pretty good about this because there's no one really there to stop him on Sacramento for sure. And then you look at the fact that in the front court, it's him, right, for that team right now, especially on defense as well. But we'll see what he's able to bring. I know you love Nurkic this season. You love a guy who comes in and is have another year off of an injury where people still forget that 2 years ago he's a top 7, 8 center in the league. And he's coming back. We'll I think quickly be reminded if he's able to stay healthy, why it is that he is that seen at regarded as such in the league. So no, I'm fully backing that, and I'm actually supporting Portland this year to be a little bit more of an overachiever compared to their expectations. I don't know that they're a top 4 or 5 seed in the West. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I think that would be a bit of a surprise, and I do think that they will surprise us a bit this year. And I don't think Dame is going anywhere. I do believe him when he says he's staying in Portland. So either way, I think that this is going to be a feel-good year for Portland more than they've had in a little bit. Speaking of a feel-good year being needed, Spencer Dinwiddie, another guy who we forgot how good he was, and now he makes his way over to the Wizards, finally out of the shadow of just all these stars rotating in and out of Brooklyn since Kyrie got there, and now KD and obviously Harden. So Dinwiddie moved on over to Washington, and I do think that there's some value here. We are looking specifically at whether or not Bradley Beal plays. That'll be a huge indicator. But to me, 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Dinwiddie tonight is something that without Brad Beal is almost a lock to me. You look at what he did a couple years ago when he was the main sort of ball carrier for them with Kyrie. I think played 20 games that season in his first year with Brooklyn, and Dinwiddie played the majority of the season. Around 20 points a game, 6.5 assists, 3.5 boards. So I think that's the Spencer Dinwiddie that we'll see, especially if Bradley Beal's not going to be there with the ball in his hands. The Wizards have some guys on offense. Once again, I think they'll be comparable to last year's team without Russ Westbrook this year, and potentially a little bit better. So, look, monitor Brad Beal and see what's going on there, but definitely look for Spencer Dinwiddie to be at the very least the second banana all year long, which means 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists, even if Brad Beal's playing tonight. I still feel pretty good about.
Can we give him one game to come back from the ACL tear, though, Josh? I mean,
I maybe get ahead of it.
Maybe if Beal's out, he carries a big load, but it's hard for me to expect that right out of the gate. If Beal is out, I would probably look at Kyle Kuzma props. Only 12.5 points. They're not getting great odds there, but I think, he's going to come out gunning to score there.
Someone's got to score for the Wizards, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think Kuzma is really in a redemption situation as well, kind of similar to Dinwiddie. But, the health for me makes me question whether I would take a prop on Dinwiddie before I see him once. And the last one I'll mention, DeJounte Murray for the Spurs. It's just like, who's going to do anything for the Spurs at this point? Their roster's been stripped pretty bare. It is an easy matchup at home against Orlando. particularly easy for Murray against, a cavalcade of rookie and sophomore point guards that they'll throw at him. He should get his points and rebounds. No problem. I mean, he's usually a 7-7 guy in terms of rebounds and assists when the game stays close. So my biggest concern would just be that the Spurs win pretty easily and he doesn't get there. But first game of the season, Orlando could be a little spunky, and the Spurs are far from gangbusters right now. So I would take that, assuming that Murray gets his full slate of minutes.
Yeah, man, Murray fooled me a ton of times last year, specifically, playing DFS there. I felt like I would continuously get a lot of value from him at point guard. And I just don't feel like I ever chose him when he had a good game. And too often they're far and few between. I think, DeJounte Murray was someone that they expected to be able to come in and maybe not be Kawhi or fill the role of, the great Spurs that came before him. But a little bit of consistency would be nice from him. And that's his problem continuously. And it's going to be the Spurs' downfall this year. Is I think if you're relying on Murray at this point to be, I don't know, at least top two, but even if he's your third banana, I don't think that you have a really solid NBA team. I know that someone has to score. I personally will not be watching the Spurs and Magic tonight. That one sounds brutal. I know I'll get in there and watch these teams a couple of times. But, Murray, 31.5 points, rebounds, assists. To your point, if he's able to put up some numbers, it's also the shooting for him scares me. I hate to put you down there. But, I'm going to stay away from that one as well. I think we got a couple others that we can feel pretty good about. So either way, that is all the time that we have for you guys today. Hope you're getting something out of these props that we're looking at spanning the league. It's going to be a nice full slate tonight on the second night of this season, and we'll continue to roll on back with another video for you guys tomorrow. And until then, happy betting.